Hi! It feels so good to be behind my own desk again. I haven't been here in a while, and that's because I was traveling for the past 6 months. We've been to Toronto, Los Angeles, Australia, New Zealand actually as well. I was like, there is no better way to celebrate being back behind my own desk with a big editing session. So that's exactly what we're gonna do today. So grab yourself a tea or some chippies. Probably your teacup's not gonna be as big as mine because this one is literally as big as my head. I feel like if I spill this, I'm gonna flood my room. Make yourself comfortable because you're in for a big editing session. And I am going to use Luminar Neo for editing these photos. I've made a nice selection of 4 different photos. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I love my hectic edits. I love editing as much as I love taking the photos. Yeah, I'm excited. I think without any further ado, let's dive in Luminar Neo and have a big, nice editing session. So, when I was in New Zealand, I shot this portrait of a very, very gorgeous model. The sun was setting, it was such nice golden lighting. I chose for it to be backlighting the model, but as you can see, the photo is way too underexposed, which I did on purpose, because now we can bring back so much more detail in the photo. And if it was overexposed, then yeah, I'll get to that a bit later because I have a photo I sort of messed up, but we're gonna try and save it. But for now, let's start editing this shot. Alright, so I have my laptop down here and I thought I'd let you know that all these photos are shot with my Canon R6. For this shot, we're gonna edit this portrait that has been shot with my 85mm. The more you know. So first off, Luminar Neo has such a handy tool, and that is called Relight AI. It relights your photo. So let's start with brightness near. And as you can see, when I drag the slider up, it lights up our model in such a natural way. And you can see her again. She has risen from the darkness. And when I play with brightness far, you can see the difference it makes as well. It strengthens the sun in my photo. You get the point, you get the point. This is not gonna be the first time in this video I'm gonna have a hard time with a word. Just get ready for that. I'm just gonna bring up the brightness far a little bit and look at this. This is before and this is after, and it already makes the biggest difference with literally 2 mouse clicks. I really want to accentuate the bokeh in my photo. So I'm gonna bring up the amount. As you can see, it defocuses the background in a very natural way. Next up, I want to head into Face AI. It lights up the face, which is so helpful because then you don't have to use any masks or whatever. You just bring up face light and it lights up the face. So I'm just gonna leave it at an amount of 14. Next up is Skin AI, and if you're not much of a fan for taking time editing the skin or frequency separation or whatever, which is totally understandable, then this is such a handy tool. So I'm gonna head into Skin AI and then I'm gonna bring up the amount, and as you can see, it softens the skin. So I'm just gonna do it a tiny bit because I still want to leave a bit of texture in her face, not to be like super. So this is before and this is after, and now it's time to dive into the color grading, which is, if you ask me, one of my favorite parts of editing photos. And for that, I'm gonna head into the basic adjustments and start playing around with the curves. So I open up curves, I'm gonna head into the red tab by creating a nice S-curve and then bringing up my bottom dot a little bit, like so, and it already gives us such a nice warm undertone. But to make my shadows a bit more purpley, I'm gonna head into the green tab. Once again, I'm gonna drag my bottom dot a little bit down, like that. And then Luminar Neo also has a very handy tool called Enhance, and it enhances your photo. No way. So I'm gonna enhance this photo a little bit by bringing up the accent a tiny bit, and then I'm gonna head into Glow in the Creative tab, and I'm gonna add a little bit of the Orton effect glow, bringing up the amount just a tiny bit, and I feel like it really accentuates that dreamy look of this photo. And then to smoothen out this photo, I'm gonna head into Structure AI and then bringing the amount down a little bit to really, it's sort of like you're taking out clarity. And then as the cherry on top, I am going to brighten up the eyes a tiny bit, and I'm gonna do that by heading into Develop, and then into Masking, and then taking the brush tool, zooming in onto my portrait, making the size a little bit smaller. And just by drawing in the iris, it makes it look very natural. And then going back into adjustments and then bringing up the exposure, maybe a little bit more, like that. So this is our before and this is our after. Alright, so the next shot I have in store is this photo of a dirt bike rider in a forest. And for this shot, I sort of want to go for a very grungy midnight vibe. So I'm gonna apply a preset. So I'm gonna head into the Savannah tab. I feel like Bitter Cold already gives me such a nice base to work with. Yeah, I'm just gonna start with my basic adjustments. So I'm gonna bring up the exposure a little bit. And I feel like the contrast is already pretty good. Then bringing down the highlights a bit because I feel like they're a tiny bit distracting in this photo. Then heading into the curve section again. And then making an S-curve. And that's pretty much always what I do for my photos. And from there, I'm gonna play around with the dots. So I feel like this photo could use a nice fade because the blacks are very deep and sometimes you sort of lose your subject when that happens. So by adding a little bit of fade in your photo, it brings back a lot of detail like that. As you can see, this is without fade and this is with a little bit of fade. Then heading into the red tab, I'm just gonna play around with these different tabs, sort of trying to get the colors I'm gonna go for. And then heading into color harmony and then into the color balance, I'm just gonna adjust my shadows a little bit. I wanna make those a little bit more to the cyan side. Then heading into the highlights, making those also a bit more to the minty color side because it gives us that grungy feel to the photo. Then heading back into the Essentials tab, into Develop, and then into Masking. And I'm gonna ask AI to sort of mask out the subjects in the photo. And I feel like this looks so cool when it happens because it looks like it's calculating. And then I can select what we want to use as our mask. So it can be a human, a sky, transport, natural ground. But of course I want to go for the human. And then it masks out our bike rider. And I'm just gonna bring up the exposure just to expose him a little bit more. Then heading back into masking, I want to select the natural ground. And I'm just gonna darken the ground a bit just to draw back focus to our bike rider. And as you can see, it makes such a big difference when I do this. All right, so now I still want to accentuate where our light is coming from. And for that, I'm gonna use sun rays. And I'm gonna head into the creative section, into sun rays, and then we can add fake sun rays. How cool. So I'm gonna place our sun center. I think this should do like up here. Look, and we can make it very dramatic, which I do not want to do for this photo. Oh, this is actually really cool like that. Oh, okay, I'm just gonna leave it at a tiny bit. So I'm gonna decrease the amount. Also decrease the overall look. And as you can see, this affects the overall look of your photo. So I'm just gonna leave that at a tiny bit as well. We can also adjust the warmth of the sun rays. So I sort of want to go for a very cool undertone, as if it's like moonlight is lighting up our bike riders. So sun ray warmth very on the cold side. And then I still feel like you can really tell that we added these sun rays. I'm gonna head into the brush tool and then click on erase, getting rid of it a little bit. Damn, I feel like we did a pretty good job for this photo. So this is before and this is after. I feel like it sort of changed what time of day it was, which is pretty cool. And the next photo I have in store for you is this photo of this very foggy forest. And this is the Black Forest in Germany. I feel like this photo could use a nice preset. And I sort of want to see what the cinematic presets look like. So I'm just gonna have a scroll through them. I think Cyberpunk works very well for this photo. So first off, I want to change the colors in this photo. So I'm gonna head into color and then into the HSL tab. I want to make those yellows a bit more orange. So I'm gonna drag my yellow slider to the orange side. And then we can adjust the overall colors by adjusting the hue shift. Look what happens when I go to the right. It's not really the look I want to go for, but I feel like this bit more orange and teal works very well together. And I'm sure you've heard that combination before. Then I really want to accentuate the fog in this photo. So we're gonna head into atmosphere and then adding a bit of fog. Just a tiny bit. And I feel like we're sort of missing a little bit of depth in our photos. So we're gonna head into develop, into masking, and then adding linear gradients from the bottom and one from the side here. Then going into adjustments and dragging down the exposure a bit. And I also feel like this photo could use a linear gradient from the top, so I'm gonna drag that down. Then, since we're going for that mystical vibe to this photo, we're gonna head into the creative tab, into mystical. So when I drag it all the way up, which is obviously a little bit too much, but then you can see what it does. It gives your photo a little bit of a glow. Okay, that's before. And this is after, especially the fog in this photo in combination with that bluish undertone. Yes, I really like it. It gives it a very mystical touch to your photo. So yeah. Alright, then I have this photo as the last one we're going to edit. And as you can see, I just overexposed the sky way too much. We were sort of in a spot you weren't allowed to stand. So I was like, quick, make photo. Ooh. I wish I shot it a bit more underexposed, because that way we could bring so much more detail back in the sky. But we have a solution for that, and that is sky replacement. Before we're gonna have a play around with that, I wanna add a preset to this photo. There is a preset folder called Sunsets, and I feel like Dream Film looks very good. And I'm just gonna straight up start off with replacing the sky. And I'm gonna do that by heading into Sky AI, and then we can select our sky. I find this very exciting. You can also go crazy and just add stars in your photo, but maybe for another time. Okay, so I feel like this sky works the best for this photo, but as you can see, the sun was originally on the right side of the photo. Look, when I zoom in, that's where the glow is coming from. And now our sun is on the left side, but we can change that. We can adjust that by going into sky orientation and then changing the horizontal position. So this is before and this is after, and it's coming together very nicely. So now we're gonna head into the color harmony tab. And when you adjust the colors, you'll also adjust the colors of the sky we've replaced. So I wanna give it that nice, dark, burning undertone. And I'm gonna do that by making the shadows a bit more red. And same for the midtones. I'm making those also a tiny bit more red. So then, Luminar Neo also has a tab called Landscape, and then we can enhance the effect of golden hour. So even when you shoot photos that are not shot during golden hour, and we can still make it look like it's shot around sunset. So I'm gonna increase golden hour a bit, and then I still feel like playing around with the tone curve. So I'm gonna head into develop, and then into curves, and then I'm gonna add a little bit of contrast and adding a bit of fade. And I always feel like when I do this, it ties the photo together. It all blends it so nicely. And that's our final photo. So this is before and this is after. And we completely got rid of our overexposed sky. Yeah. And these are all our edited photos. I'm very happy with how they turned out, especially when we look at the before versus the after, and it's just such a big difference. I had a lot of fun playing around with Luminar Neo. I just love editing so much because you can manipulate your photos and make them look like in any way you want. Especially with Luminar Neo, I feel like it gives you so many options to go crazy with your edits. When we look at sky replacement, all the different tools to add atmosphere to your photo, make them look more mystical, add glow, add fake fog, it's all in here. And I personally feel like all the tools and different functions and everything are in the spot you expect them to be. So that makes the editing process very user-friendly and easy. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this big editing session. I definitely need to go to the toilet now because I finished this whole thing. But yeah, I would definitely recommend giving Luminar Neo a go. It's a lot of fun to play around with. To make your life very easy, I have a QR code that you can scan and it gives you 10% off on the annual subscription. And you can also find all the information and the discount code in the description down here. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I also hope to see you in the next one. Okay, bye-bye. Doei! Yay! This is the first video I filmed behind my desk, and this is a spot you're gonna see plenty more videos, although my desk, I'm not gonna show you, my desk is a mess, but I'm gonna make a YouTube video on how I declutter everything, give it a very satisfying clean, so stay tuned for that, and I cannot wait to create more videos for you. So yeah, thank you for tagging along, and hopefully I see you in the next one. Okay. I already said doei, but I'm gonna say it again. Doei!